Okay, I believe we're live. All right. Uh, okay, so have you ever experienced unexplained chronic pain? Maybe you've dealt with chronic anxiety for as long as you remember. You've had depression, trust issues. Maybe, as a mom, you dealt with postpartum depression. Or motherhood just doesn't feel as wonderful as you thought it would be. And you feel so disconnected inside your own motherhood experience that you're wondering, what the heck is wrong with me? And if that's you, if even one of those apply, then this episode might be for you. So today I'm going to be talking about 9 subtle signs of childhood trauma. Um, the ones people don't really include in their, oh, these are the obvious signs of trauma, especially when it comes to motherhood. Um, so, hello and welcome. Good morning. I am Haley Ram, the host of Mama with Trauma podcast. I'm a wife and a mother to 5 children. I myself grew up in a very abusive environment. I've detailed this on another aspect of this channel, the Long Way to Health series, if you're curious. Um, and I I always wanted to be a mother. I really did. I truly did. Um, and when I had my first, when I was pregnant, I was very excited. I was extremely excited. Um, and I could not wait to be a mom. And then I became a mom. And then I know they say your first one is hard, but I feel like my experience was not what it should have been. There was way too many negative emotions. I ended up having well, I thought it was my Lyme disease returning, and to some extent that was accurate, but it was also my body was like, "You're a mom now, and mothers are threats, by the way. So you are a threat to us now, to our own system, and we got to shut down." So I I had a rough start. I had a very severe postpartum depression with my first. I did not get help. I didn't even really know I had postpartum depression for the longest time. I could not admit that there was anything wrong, but there were a lot of days where I was like, I don't feel anything um other than, these intrusive thoughts that are making me crazy. I just feel so overwhelmed. I cried so freaking much it wasn't even funny. Um and it was rough. It was really rough. And my second baby, like when she came along, uh, it was beautiful. It was wonderful. I didn't deal with as much postpartum depression. I don't think I had that much. I had some negative emotions, not quite as much. I was more distracted. But shortly, let's see, it was about 5 months after she was born, 6 months after she was born, I ended up having my first, uh not my first, I'd been reliving memories from the time. I finally understood what was wrong. I began understanding what was wrong, and, um, yeah, it cleared some things up. So, sometimes we think when we hear, "Oh, trauma," it's a buzzword these days, and for good reason. I'm glad that people are more aware and are taking the time and attention and care to really examine what this means. Now, we have big T trauma, which is like the major big events, like if you were in a car accident, you had a serious medical injury as a kid, or you lost a loved one. Like that can cause, like, those are big T traumas. Or I think physical abuse is categorized, or sexual abuse is in there too. Or if you just, been violated as an adult too. Um, but we're more specifically talking about childhood trauma. So then there's the little t trauma that a lot of people don't really pay attention to, and that can be emotional neglect. when you're a kid or being in a stressed out environment. If your parents fought a lot, that can cause chaos for you. Congratulations, your brain was now the same as a war veteran. Instability, even poverty can register as a trauma in the system because trauma is less about the event that happened and more about what your nervous system had to do to survive the experience and the aftermath. So, a trauma expert, Gabor Mate, he says that it's more so if you were isolated or you were not taken care of properly after the event happened. And for a lot of us, that's happened. And so I think when we hear childhood trauma, we're like, oh no, I'm suddenly now accusing my parents of being neglectful or being abusive, and that's not that's not always the case. And before you jump to that, that's just understand that acknowledging that something bad happened to you in your childhood and maybe your parents did cause it does not mean you are blaming your parents for anything that you do now. You can go down that path, but being an adult now understands I have to find the source of my pain, get to the root of it, acknowledge where it came from, and then now deal with it. And that is a very adulthood response, but you have to deal with the root of it first. If you don't uproot a poisonous root, it's going to continue spreading poison throughout your garden. And the same goes for trauma. It is a poison that, if n- left unchecked and unattended to and uprooted, then you are signing yourself off to a life of misery and an early death from some weird illness. I'm sorry, but that is the nature of what trauma does. It is an unfortunate reality. And this isn't just me saying this. I have confirmed with a doctor, and everyone will tell you, like, if you just go look, like, the medical community is now recognizing that's a problem. And especially, there's a special section that isn't widely talked about, but it is what we call childhood trauma. The medical community calls childhood adverse events, and it is things that happen in your childhood that l- weren't healed, they weren't dealt with properly, and you were continuing to live in the pain. And now you're an adult, and you're still dealing with these problems, and they're your underlying health issues. And suddenly you have kids, and now your kids are little wonderful mirrors to that. So this is a real thing. This is a real problem. And if you know something happened, maybe you broke your leg and that was an awful experience and you were left alone a lot and you felt neglected. That is categorized as somewhat as a little t trauma. Could be big. It depends on how your system registered it. And it's not like we're pulling from, oh my gosh, I'm just looking for something to excuse my bad behavior today. Bad behavior is just a symptom of a root problem. That's all it is. And when you get to the root problem, then you can move forward. Okay. All of that to say, we're going to discuss the 9 subtle signs of childhood trauma and how it could be affecting your motherhood. Um, so, motherhood is a wonderful spotlight. It is a wonderful, incredible mirror. It can feel so damning and so crushing to have little people that you see having a great time. And then all of a sudden, you're crying for no freaking reason. And you're like, what the heck just happened? Or you're exploding all over the place because your child is having a meltdown over their broken banana. And you're like, this, why am I upset? So let's get into the subtle signs. Number one, you feel overwhelmed easily. So, what this can look like is small things, like I just mentioned, your toddler melting down over a broken banana, or his shoes don't fit correctly, or he's not he's not doing the thing that you said, and you're just like, oh. Small things feel huge. Noise, mess, interruptions feel unbearable, and you feel so chaotic when those things happen. You go from calm to overwhelmed just like that. And so, for example, the kids are talking, the baby is crying, something spills, and suddenly you feel like you're going to explode. And it's going to be messy. And then suddenly you're like, you know what? I got to run. I got to get out of here. So, why does this happen? Your nervous system is already on edge. You are already a live wire from things that were never resolved. And when you are facing little people, so often what times happens, what happens is uh, when a child reaches a certain age, an age where something, same age that something happened to you, say you took a beating or you were screamed at a lot over the messes you made as a kid, and your child is now making messes as a kid. And then suddenly, those messes that your kid is making causes you to have irrational anger. And you're not sure what the heck just happened because you're like, well, I'm being told that children make messes and this is normal, but I feel like I'm in danger all of a sudden. And it's because your nervous system is saying, hey, hello, we've been here before and dangerous things happened and it hurt and we don't want to have that happen to happen again. So your nervous system often doesn't know which time it's in. And so if there are unresolved patterns and systems that happened in your past, it's going to bleed into your present and cause you to think you're in danger when you're really not. So feeling overwhelmed easily is sign number 1. It's like it's not the spilled milk. It's the 27 years of emotional buildup behind that cup falling over. The second sign, subtle sign, is you feel constant guilt. Guilt after snapping, guilt after resting, or just feeling like you need a nap and you feel guilty for that. Guilt for needing space and just time to breathe, or guilt for absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. So, what this can look like is, for example, you finally sit down, you've had a productive morning, you've gotten laundry done, you feel like you've earned it, but immediately you feel like you should be doing something. And you're like, nope, can't do this. I have to do something now. I cannot rest. So, why this happens is many trauma survivors were conditioned to overfunction and take responsibility for others' emotions. And other for me specifically with this, why I have a problem resting is when I was uh it was like I was a sitting duck because there were lots of people assaulting me, um, a lot in my early years. And this put me in contact, like, I would hide. I still remember, like, trying to hide, or I would keep myself busy or occupied, like, so that no one could mess with me. So, for example, I learned to play the piano at a very young age. I was really great at it. Um, and it was a coping mechanism. It was a safety mechanism to keep myself in a public area where no one could touch me and I would be fine. Um, or performance was what got you love. So if you worked really hard, then you got approval, you got love. So that was something that was in my house. So if I was doing something, then I felt worthy of love, and if I rested, then oh my gosh, no, I can't do that. Also, I think yeah, this goes into the third one, which is you struggle to rest. So what that looks like is you're always doing something. You cannot relax without anxiety. Rest feels unsafe. So I guess that's more so, I mean, they kind of all tie together. So you sit down to rest and your brain goes, this is illegal. We cannot be doing this. We do not feel safe here. Someone is going to come in here. Someone is going to interrupt. You're in danger essentially if you rest. Um, and why that is rest was not safe or modeled in childhood. Um, Getting good sleep was not something that was prioritized in my family, even as a young kid. And I do remember from a very young age, I was waking up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and would not go back to sleep. And I didn't, right? I was always just, it was always just framed as you're an early bird. That is not just the case. It was because I was being preyed upon at night and sleeping felt too dangerous. Um, so if you have a very complicated relationship with rest, that could be another sign. Sign number 4 is you are hyper aware of everyone else's emotions. What this looks like is scanning tone, mood, body language. And this could be something that you are not even aware that you're doing. You just know that when you walk in a room, suddenly you're like, "Okay, what's going on here?" And you might not even be conscious of it because it's an operating system that's been running since you were a kid. And this is very hard to tune and it's not that hard to tune into if you know what you're looking for. Um, Trying to keep everyone happy or walking on eggshells constantly, even if you're around your husband who is supposed to be a safe person. Like you're like, I know this person is safe. This was me for years. And I was like, there's I just thought this was kind of normal. Like I didn't discuss what was going on in my head with a lot of people or how I felt because I had tried talking about what was going on inside of me in the past and it didn't go well. So I was like, you know what? I'm fine. I'm functioning. I'm married. I have kids. I have to be okay because obviously I've gotten to this point and you know, life's fine. So an example of this is you can actually tell that your toddler is about to melt down before they even know it. Like you can sense their emotions. And this has been something that I've actually leaned into as and seen it more as a gift because I can sense my toddler's emotions before they can. And so then that gives me an edge to be able to help explain, hey, I think I know what you're feeling. And I remember the first time, I didn't even know this was possible, but I was just having a moment with my first. And he'd been crying a lot. And I was like, you feel really emotional, don't you? You have big emotions. Little people have big emotions. And I was explaining how anger can feel. And I think he was like 15 months old at the time or 18 months old. I can't remember. He was somewhere in there. And all of a sudden, he just looks up at me like, I'm finally understood. You see me. And he wrapped his arms around my neck and gave me a really big hug. And I was like, whoa, okay. So it can come in handy being able to be aware of people's emotions, especially little children who don't understand emotions. So I guess for me, this is a side benefit on one hand, but it can be extremely exhausting around adults. And when you're walking into a room, you're trying to socialize and or you're just trying to be around your kids and be normal. And you're aware of every single emotion that's in the room and it's draining your energy. So why this happens is this is linked to what's called the fawn response and it's where you it's a trauma response where if you can't run, you can't um freezing hasn't quite set in, you try fawn first. Um Fighting isn't an option anymore. So you try to please, you try to become um super accommodating to your abuser or to someone so that you can stay alive, so you can survive your environment. Um, and it's helpful for then, but later on, it's like, we don't need to be like this anymore. So you can stop being a people pleaser. So, sign number 5 is you have big reactions to small things. What this can look like is really intense anger. I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago talking about how my kids asking me for more food at lunchtime, it was just at lunchtime, uh, elicited a just intense anger just out of nowhere. And I was like, "Whoa, what the heck is this?" And I actually dealt with it, processed it, and that does not happen anymore, which is amazing and so helpful. I can give my kids lunch and let them ask for more food and me not be like exploding all over the place. It's amazing. Um, but it can be intense anger over things that you or your kid spills something and you blow up, right? Or you shut down. You're like, I can't handle this. Another example of it, like this happened to me a lot in the early years. Like I didn't realize it was shutdown. Um, and I guess shutdown, panic, and emotional flooding was all kind of happening at the same time. When there was too much crying, a couple of my kids would cry at the same time. I would literally have to, I couldn't take it anymore. And I would run out of the house and go sit on the driveway and have over my ears because I didn't know, I couldn't even describe to you then what was happening. I just knew I can't I can't be here in this environment anymore. And so I would run out of the house and I would just and I would be like rocking back and forth and I'm like, it's just a lot of noise. Or I would come and sit in my husband's office and I would just hide and I'm like, I just need a minute. I'd be like on the verge of tears and I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I can't take the noise anymore. And that's really like my children needed me. I couldn't even be there because their crying just sent all the alarm systems in my body off. And it was like, danger, 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 danger. And it was like, we got to get out of here right now. Um, and for me, the reason for that was crying in childhood led to beatings. And I'm not being hyperbolic there, like it led to actual beatings. And if you had a bad attitude, that was another threat. You got sent away. So for you, this could just be your child spills something and your reaction is way bigger than the situation. So again, why this happens is the brain is reacting to past experiences, not just the present. Number 6 is you feel emotionally numb sometimes, or maybe all the time. What this can look like is disconnected. You're going through the motions. You're like, I'm living a life, but I'm not sure whose it is. This could be my life, but I don't feel like it's mine. Not feeling joyfully. You can feel all the negative emotions in the world, but the happy ones just it's like a paper airplane just like hits your head and plinks off and you're like, "Yeah, I don't even know what that is anymore." You love your kids. For example, you love your kids. You know you love them. But sometimes you just feel so oddly distant or you can be looking around and you can this overwhelming feeling of, is this even real? These are this I'm a mom. These are my kids. Or you feel like you're watching your life through a window. And that's dissociation and oftentimes that's actually it's a freeze response. And the freeze response is what happens when your body has no other you have no other options for fight, flight, fawning didn't work either, and now your body held still, took whatever happened to you. And this could even stem from medical trauma. Like you had an accident and you had nowhere to go. You had no way of getting out of it and you're stuck. You're just stuck there. And so your body's like, "Well, I just have to sit here and take this because I have nowhere else to go." And that is it's hard to come out of a freeze response because the freeze response, that shutdown, is one of the final stages that the body goes through before it decides it's time to exit this reality and dying is our only option. Um, and that has happened to me several times. Uh, And freeze is so frustrating to deal with. So number 7 is you struggle with boundaries. What this can look like is saying yes when actually you mean no. And one of best, the best explanations for this was inside of a Bluey episode. And man, that show has been so helpful for me. Um, there's an episode where Bingo is saying she's being asked questions by all of her family members, and she's just saying yes to whatever. And so then she's finally frustrated, and the family's like, "But you said yes. You said yes to all of these things. What are we? What did we do wrong?" And so the mom says, "Did your outside voice say yes, but your inside voice say no?" And the child in Bingo says, "Yeah." She has a little clicker thingy that says yes. And that that explanation just put a lot of pieces together for me, being able to understand, like, I can say yes all day long, but what I actually don't know how to say no. Saying no feels wrong. It's it's too it's too much work to say no, even though saying yes could mean more work for you. But saying no feels threatening. Again, it comes back to safety and wanting to stay safe. Overcommitting, you're just doing too much. Feeling responsible for absolutely everyone. You were taking on things that were not meant to be yours. And I think this is why we have entered this new conversation around women's mental load. I put air quotes around that, and you can hate me all you want, but the mental load, kind of a trauma response to some extent. It really is. I believe a lot of women are holding on to and dealing with this trauma response of struggling with boundaries and taking on things that they were never meant to take on, or just being overwhelmed by the um, the managerial responsibilities of being a mother and running a household. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is way too much. And instead of thinking, why am I not able to do something that women have been able to do for thousands of years? Why have I suddenly become incapable of doing something that other women can do it, but why can't I? Instead of digging deeper, we throw the responsibility on our husbands and like, you should do this. I didn't expect to get into this conversation, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because this is important. This is important for us to understand. This is sometimes what these signs of childhood trauma can look like in your marriage, in as a mom. It's that mental load, and that mental load is actually not the problem. It's a symptom of a root problem. And if me saying that makes you want to explode with rage, I probably struck a nerve. And just ask yourself, do yourself a favor. Sit with your anger and get to the bottom of it. It's just a messenger. It's just a messenger coming to tell you information about yourself. Okay? So it's okay if any one of these things makes you feel attacked. Good. Okay, good. All right, I know that's not what you expected me to say, but that's a good thing because that means your body is like, oh, hey, she gets it. She understands what we've been trying to tell her for years. You need help. We're drowning. And it's not just all the tasks. It's not just having to show up for doctor's appointments and being responsible for everybody's well being. No, 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 no. It's a root problem. It's a root problem. And we have to get to the roots of things. We have a society that just deals with symptoms. We only deal with the symptoms. And if the symptoms fade, we're like, problem solved. Hooray. And it's like, no, you just shifted the problem to another area and it's going to come back in another form, in another way. And it's just we don't we don't want to take it seriously that this can happen because we've been told over and over and over, time and time again, stop blaming your parents. You're an adult now. You have to take responsibility for what happened to you, and you can't blame your parents anymore. Okay, no, maybe I'm not blaming them, but I am acknowledging that's where it stemmed from. Okay. And now I'm going to take corrective action to fix it, to get help. All right. So if this is something that you have been struggling with, acknowledging this, because again, this really ties into struggling with boundaries because it is really, 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 really hard, almost impossible to acknowledge that someone did something to you, especially when you struggle with boundaries and you are like, nah, it's my fault. You're either going to go, it's everybody else's fault or everything is my fault. And boundary issue. You don't know what to take responsibility for. So, yeah. Anyway, that was my little rant there. Uh, Number 8 is you feel like you are too much or not enough. And there will be days where you bounce like you're in a pinball machine between I'm way too much. Oh my gosh, I'm too much. I need to retreat from everyone. And my needs are too much for anybody. Or I'm not enough. I can't do this. I'm not enough for everybody. I can't give enough. I can't work hard enough. I'm not enough. And the symptoms of this can be shame, self doubt, an inner critic. Oh my gosh. My inner critic was so bad that if my inner critic had voiced to anyone else what I was saying to myself, I would have gotten a restraining order. It was that bad. So, for example, like I said, I'm failing. I'm failing as a mom. Or I'm just not doing enough. It's one of those. And this comes from, this can be from if you were ever put in situations where you were not able to meet the standard that was required for you and it left you, or you were told, you're too loud, you're too much, or your mom wasn't able to handle your needs. So you told yourself, okay, I'm too much. My needs are too much. Or if you didn't get good grades and you got scolded for that, that can wire your brain to be like, well, if I'm not meeting this like perfectionistic standard, then I'm obviously not doing enough. All right, number 9. You are triggered by your own children. I did an entire podcast on this. It's on, I can't remember the title of it. Something about why your children make you angry or something like that. um, But if you notice that certain behaviors, you may not be aware. You may not be aware that certain behaviors set you off instantly. You may just be aware that sometimes I have unexplained rage or I feel freaked out by the behavior that my kid is exhibiting and I don't know why. I suddenly feel like I'm the child when watching my child cry or they've said something defiant and you're like, "Oh, I gotta shut that down. Mm. Don't say that." And what that can look like is trying to control your children and control all of those behaviors. Um, and but I've mentioned crying and the noise can feel very overwhelming. And this is often blamed as, well, you're just easily overstimulated. Yeah, but why? But why? I think we get to, okay, you're overstimulated, so let's just calm you down. But we don't dig deeper and we don't say, but why was I overstimulated? It just gets explained as, well, I have ADHD or I'm neurodivergent or I'm neurospicy and all these, I'm autistic and all these other things. And I am not denying that those are real things, but they're also often symptoms of negative experiences that happened to you in your childhood that wired your brain incorrectly. So, yes, your brain works a certain way, but it's not because you were born that way. Children are not born with these conditions. They're just not. I don't know about the autistic thing. I'm going to backtrack on that one because I'm not 100% sure on that one. Um but these are things that get wired. A child's brain from 0 to 8 is that's when their subconscious is being wired, and every experience that they have is coding them with information saying, this happened here, this is the result. And if that pathway gets reaffirmed over and over and over, then your brain as an adult is like, well, we obviously know what happens here. We're in trouble. But it's faulty wiring. It's faulty at its core, and it can be fixed is the thing. Is the thing. I am not giving you this list to be like, all right, here's what's wrong with you and good luck. No. You're with children triggering you, your child is not the problem. Oftentimes when children reach the same age that we were when something bad happened to us, our system is like, "Oh my gosh, it's going to happen all over again." And sometimes that's when you can start really remembering the thing that happened to you when you were at that age. This happened to me constantly. My daughter reached a certain age, and suddenly I remembered who violated me when I was that same age, 17 months old, around that time. And maybe you already know what's happened to you, or maybe you don't know. Maybe you've blocked it out, which is a completely valid thing. Dissociative amnesia is a thing. Repressed memories are real. What happens is you are traumatized, and especially when you're younger, your brain doesn't know how to process it. If it didn't feel like you were in a safe environment, it broke off that part of you. We'll pretend like it was bubble wrapped and it was stored on a shelf to be dealt with later. Handle with care, and don't touch that until we are in a safer environment to be able to process that thing. It's still there, but in order for our continued survival, we have to pretend it's not there, especially if the traumatic thing happened from someone you trusted. All right, this betrayal trauma cuts children at their core because children come into the world looking for that safety person, for their sole caretaker, someone who is going to be consistently taking care of them. We are all wired for connection, and we are all wired for attachment. At least we're supposed to be. And when those attachment needs are not met properly, it causes a lot of problems. And so when your parent or the person who was taking care of you, that could have been your grandmother. I don't know who it was. Whoever wasn't responsible for taking care of you as a kid, if they did something that violated you or caused you harm, your brain didn't know how to process those two things at once. Someone can love me, but still cause harm, especially if it was never addressed. So the brain has a brilliant functioning mechanism where it cuts off unnecessary info that doesn't serve the survival of the child in that environment and helps you get to survival and comes up with amazing strategies to keep you alive, which are great in the moment, but then they don't stop until you address the event that happened to you. So you might have ADHD symptoms, but they're just symptoms, and there's a root problem. Gabor Mate has gone on the record saying that ADHD isn't actually a diagnosis. It is a symptom of a traumatic event that happened in your childhood. It can be. It's not always. There are other things that can happen. Maybe you were given too much screen time as a kid. I don't know. Which could signal that you were neglected. I don't know. So this is why this a lot of people have a hard time understanding how you could forget something that happened to you that was so bad, especially if it was over and over and over and over and over. But the way God designed the way the body is designed, oh, it's magnificent. To survive in a place that is destructive at its nature, is constantly putting you in threats, and the body will dumb you down. It's like, that's not necessary. It will cause your system to malfunction. I had a lot of all of my siblings and I had lots of digestive issues, and that is related to trauma. That is it's a cause from the nervous system shutdown, the dorsal vagal shutdown, which affects the digestive system because it's like we need our energy put somewhere else. So we need to shut this system down so we can put energy into surviving. This isn't necessary. So we have to understand that this is real. This is a thing. And I'm not saying everybody needs to go dig around in their childhood and just find an excuse for why they are the way that they are. Insert the office quote here. Why are you the way that you are? But we have to recognize that there are valid reasons for why we are the way that we are. And you don't have to continue living. This isn't normal. All right. I hate to break it to you, but this is not the normal motherhood experience that you should be experiencing. And awareness is the first step. You have to be aware something happened. You have to, and you have to acknowledge it. You can be aware, but if you then don't move into acknowledgement, you're just going to be stuck on, yeah, I know I have a problem, but I'm just going to continue with my coping mechanisms because I don't know what else to do. So, your nervous system can be retrained. If you're not, if this is like, what does my nervous system have to do? Maybe you already know, but if you don't know what your nervous system has to do with this, um, your nervous system is like a hot wire and it can be cooled down and it can be exposed or turned up way high. And if it's out of balance just a little bit, it can cause issues and things get wired into your nervous system. But it can be retrained. It can be retrained. It can be healed. You can be brought out of the freeze response. You can be brought out of whatever response you've found yourself in. There is no coping mechanism too big or too insignificant that doesn't need to be dealt with. They all need to be dealt with. Your triggers can be reduced and eliminated over time. I just mentioned a little bit ago that, and I did a podcast explaining how my kids were triggering me, and they don't anymore. And that was in a very short amount of time. And it's amazing. Like, there is hope. There is hope here. Like, you do not have to live this way for the rest of your life. You can enjoy your life. All right. You can be brought to a place of freedom. And healing is possible. So I've got two, maybe I shouldn't give you two actions. All right. If you don't want to do the second one, here's the first one. So just today, notice. Pay attention to your reactions. Notice when you're feeling overwhelmed. Don't judge it. Put the judgment and the criticism aside for now. That's not helpful right now. Simply bring some awareness into your responses instead of being like, "Oh, that was me last night. We're not gonna bring her into the daytime because that happened then, and we're a different person now." No, 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 no. Do not separate yourself like that. Integrate all of you. A lot of people would say, "Oh, you're not broken. You're just," no, actually, it's you are broken. But you can be put back together. And there is a way to do that. And it does involve Jesus. Um, And if that feels complicated, and if that's not something you want, that's okay. That's okay. He's not he's not offended. I'm not offended. Um, but he is the one who can completely eradicate it. But I can also help get you there and give you other things to help you navigate trying to unravel what happened to you, trauma healing. If this episode resonated with you, if you're like, oh, this might be me, I am currently building a trauma healing membership. It's like a coaching program kind of membership thing. Um, and it is with you in mind. It's simple, step by step. Gonna have it built out. It'll be very nervous system focused. So a lot of times when we're trying to heal, the very first thing that we have to do is find safety. Um, and that's like one of the I think that's module 3. It's very gentle at your own pace, so you can approach this however you need. Um, very practical. I have very practical advice. It's kind of funny. I have lots of some video game references. I do a lot of visuals, Lord of the Rings references, because my gosh, is that series full of trauma themes? That's amazing. Um, and the reason I wanted to form this as a membership is you you cannot do trauma healing alone. I have tried because people didn't feel safe, but there was always at least one person with me, and for the majority of this, for all of it, really has been my husband. He's incredible and amazing, and I will sing that man's praises from the rooftops and shout it until the day I die. um, but you need community, and especially when you get into the thick of it, you need other people supporting you. And it's if you've seen The Lord of the Rings, it's just like the Fellowship of the Ring. Like they decide, oh, we're gonna take the ring to Mordor, which is like think of that as trauma. But Frodo can't do it by himself. And he's got Sam, but he needs other people. And that's basically what this is. This is your fellowship. um and I'm hoping to build a very strong community where other people can support, other people can bring their ideas, we can exchange, what's helped us this time, what weird triggers did you have? And we can learn and we can recognize and come together. And yes, I have some humor in this. So if humor is not your thing, then there are more serious programs out there for you. So that's completely fine. This may not be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. That's completely fine. But if you are someone who likes a little bit of dark humor or just making it a little bit fun, I know thinking of trauma healing as fun seems like an oxymoron, but it can be. It can be. We're going to make it that way. So if you want to be part of that, when it opens, you can join the waitlist below. The link is in the description. Um, and it's no pressure. It's just a place to start. Um, and at the end of the day, if you feel like you are a bad mom, it's probably not as bad as you think, or it could be worse. I am not one to sugarcoat things, but if you think of it as you're a mom with a nervous system that learned how to survive, have compassion for yourself, acknowledge that there is a problem, get some help, whether that's through my trauma membership, coaching membership, or someone else that you resonate with, that you enjoy. There are many resources out there. You can just search on it. Um, but know that healing is possible. You can be completely free of this, and you can enjoy your motherhood. You can enjoy your life. That is how you were meant to live your life, was to be present, not feel like life is a freaking war zone all the time, and have peace of mind. Alright, I hope this was helpful, and if you got any value out of it, leave a comment below. I'm hoping to see some of you inside of the wait list, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye. There's the end stream. Okay, here it is.